Hey, fellow juniors, Dr. Bob here. Today we're going to be diving into something pretty cool and a little bit nerdy, the reflex arc. But don't worry, I promise to keep it interesting. I know, you're asking yourself, what is he talking about? What exactly is a reflex arc? Well, imagine you're in the kitchen, you're reaching for a pan on the stove, and you don't realize that it's hot. As soon as your hand gets close to it, your body reacts super fast to yank it away. That is the reflex arc in action. All right, let's break it down step by step. First up, we have the sensory receptor. This guy detects the stimulus, like heat from the stove, and it sends a signal to the sensory neuron. So, picture this. You're out for a stroll, and suddenly you accidentally touch something scalding hot. Ouch! But did you ever wonder how your body reacts so quickly? Well, it's all thanks to the sensory receptors chilling out in your skin. These little guys are like the body's own tiny detectives, always on the lookout for trouble. When you touched that hot surface, those sensory receptors in your skin immediately sprang into action. Some of them, called mechanoreceptors, felt the pressure of your touch. Others, the thermoreceptors, sensed a sudden spike in temperature, while the nociceptors screamed, "Danger!" because they felt the pain. All right, so let's dive into the fascinating world of sensory neurons. Picture them as the body's own little detectives, always on the lookout for any action or drama happening around. First, we have the dendrites. Think of these as the feelers of the neuron. They're like tiny branches reaching out to detect any interesting stimuli floating around. Whether it's a gentle touch, a poke, a change in temperature, or even a pinch, these dendrites are the first responders. Next, we have the cell body, or soma. The command center. This is where all the action happens. The cell body takes in all the signals from the dendrites and decides whether they're worth paying attention to. If it's something significant like, "Hey, that's hot!" or "Ouch, that hurts!" it'll kickstart the next phase. Next, we have the axon. Now think of the axon as the messenger highway. Once the cell body gives the green light, the axon springs into action, carrying the message down its long, slender pathway. It's like a superhighway for signals, racing towards the brain or spinal cord. In the axon terminal is where the action really heats up. Think of it as delivery trucks dropping off packages. They release neurotransmitters, which are like little messengers, into the synaptic gap, the space between the neurons. These neurotransmitters carry the message to the next neuron in line. Now, in the synapse is where the magic really happens. It's like a tiny meeting point where neurons exchange information. The neurotransmitters released by the axon terminals dock onto receptors on the next neuron, passing the message along. So, sensory neurons are basically the body's information highway, constantly keeping us in the loop about what's happening around us. They're the unsung heroes of our nervous system, always working behind the scenes to keep us safe and sound. Now, once these receptors detect trouble, they shoot off electrical signals, kind of like urgent messages along nerve fibers toward the spinal cord. Think of it as a high-speed expressway for information. Some reflexes do involve the brain. These are called cranial reflexes. For example, the pupillary light reflex involves the brainstem and cranial nerves. When light is shined into the eye, sensory information is sent to the brainstem, which then sends signals back out through the cranial nerves to constrict the pupil. As these messages zip their way to the spinal cord, they're intercepted by the dorsal root ganglion, which acts like a sorting station. Then, inside the spinal cord, the information gets processed. It's like a little nerve party happening right there. Next thing you know, the spinal cord sends out its own message, commanding your muscles to react. It's like a reflex, happening faster than you can blink. Your muscles tighten up, and before you know it, your hand jerks away from that hot surface.
Oh hey, you're back. There's more if you can believe it. Sometimes the reflex arc doesn't even involve the brain. Have you ever heard of a knee-jerk reflex? That's when your leg kicks out without you even thinking about it. Crazy, right? And there you have it, folks. The reflex arc. It's like the body's built-in safety net, keeping us safe from harm without even realizing it. So next time you're marveling at just how awesome the human body is, just remember, it's all thanks to the amazing reflex arc. Well, everybody, that's the reflex arc. I hope you learned something. I got to get back to work. Remember, stay curious.